They just socially work you. And you think, well, if this was a scam, they wouldn't be talking to me for a month, or they're my friend. Hey, I've got a girlfriend. Where's this girlfriend? You ever met her? Yeah. I've had video chats. We have a long relationship. And oh, she's an investor. She's rich. She has a rich uncle. She buys and sells gold futures. And I put $100 in there and I made like $1,000.
Wow.
And then they just got hooked in, so that was my impression.
That was very detailed. You had some experience.
I know an older person now who doesn't believe he's not being scammed. And I've seen it elsewhere. And in the course of like learning about these situations, I've read a lot about it, particularly the pig butchering scam. And Travis mentioned too, it involves weird stuff like human trafficking. I mean, people crossing borders and escaping, and they get hooked up into a job, and then they can't leave, and they're in a social scam farm, and they can't leave. It's creepy. But anyway,
there's one scam going around on Telegram where girls writing you, and they're doing it really good. They really play a longer game, so it's not like a quick scam where like within the day, they as you explained it, they're trying to do it over months and months of time, just first building a relationship and then slowly getting off after that. I had someone that sent me a bunch of screenshots. I'm like, oh yeah, that shit gets sophisticated. Like that's proper social engineering. And yeah, that's crazy. I already have like 5 or 6 of them, like the beginning of those, and they always start the same way. They say something like, hey, aren't you, and then just some random name, and then you reply, oh no, I'm like actually like Robin, and like, oh, and then all of a sudden it starts. And there's a lot of those. I got I think 5 of them already, so be aware.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing is like even people that are sophisticated still sometimes fall victim to this stuff, right? And there was a guy, he was a guy that was going around on YouTube and like actually like backwards engineering the little like the local terminal takeover thing that like the Indian scammers do and stuff. And so he would end up like taking over their cameras, and he'd be like watching them and be talking to them and go, hey, aren't you this person? Aren't you holding a coffee cup right now? And they'd just be like, oh my God, what's, but he got rung up, dude. He like clicked a bad link and ended up, he was like, I can't believe it. I fell for this, and all it takes is just that moment. Like I got an email from our website hoster, it was allegedly from the website hoster, and it was like something about the password. And I was like, oh God, what is this about? And I started clicking. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, so it's all it takes is just like a moment of, inattention and just a little bit of like vulnerability, and you can get tripped up by this stuff. But like all those guys that get pig butchered and fall for the like like the text that Robin was just talking about, like, oh okay, no, it's not me, it's you're looking, I'm Tom, right? They go, oh hi Tom, and here's a picture of me when sitting on my Ferrari and my big boobs, and it's like, oh wow, big boob girl wants to talk to me now, this is cool.
They're always about Asian women.
Right, yeah, always. I mean, I have so many amazingly beautiful women that want to talk to me on Twitter. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's probably because I'm a good-looking guy,
Yeah.
But the thing that I was going to say is that, like if you've ever been dumped or broken up with or gone through a divorce or something like that, like on the tail end of that, you can be very emotionally compromised, right? And you can be doing a lot of really dumb things that in the moment seem like a really great idea, right? You're just like, I know, I'm going to go and put a boombox over my head and sing in front of my ex-girlfriend's house and try and win her heart back. Meanwhile, she's like already dating a new guy and he's inside the house with her. And it's like, I mean, you're just making a fool of yourself, right? But in that moment, it's very easy to go, this is it. This is the thing I have to do this right now because this makes perfect sense to me. 6 months later, you look back and go, oh my God, I can't believe I actually went to my girlfriend's house wearing a suit and put a boombox over my head and tried to win her back. Like how foolish of me. Or, like you're throwing bricks through people's windows, or you're breaking their stuff or setting fire to their car, or like people just do crazy shit, right? But in the moment, it feels like a very logical thing to be doing because that's how emotionally compromised you are. So if you're the guy who's going through a divorce and you're having trouble at work, stress, and all of a sudden you just kind of fall for this little thing, it's not a long windy path to get to the place where you're like, no, I got a girlfriend, dude, and she loves me, and yeah, she's this really successful person. And like you can start convincing yourself more out of like heartbreak or sadness or depression or any number of other things. But, but once you're compromised like that emotionally, it's really, really difficult to see like what the real reality is. Like everyone around you can see it. Like, your friends are like, dude, that is a scam. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no 26-year-old super hot, supermodel from Thailand that just absolutely loves you. And she's also super rich. Like, that's just not a thing, dude. No, but it's obvious, and it'll become obvious to that person after they get wrecked, unfortunately. So my thing is always just like, try not to judge folks for that, and also be very aware like that we're all vulnerable to it. Like the second you say that would never happen to me is the second you make yourself very vulnerable to some pretty obvious scams, just because you can get compromised like that.
And they're super clever. And like,
Yeah.
we had just, what was it, 2 months ago, where Larry Lepar, Lynn Alden, and some other bigger ones fell for a very simple one, where they basically, you got invited to a podcast or some like Bloomberg thing recording. And in Larry's case, like this was the time where his book came out. So he got like interviews like 5 times a day. And it was routine for him to like, yeah, I got an invite, I got a calendar link, I booked the calendar link, then I get the invite, and like then it's going on. Like that's how I book guests. That's how everyone books guests, with those calendar links. And they just knew that, and they put a calendar link that looks like a normal calendar link, and then it opens up an application that looks like Google Calendar, asks you for the Twitter permissions, which is a little bit weird. Like, why does Google Calendar need my Twitter permissions? But it's Google Calendar, a trusted brand. But it's not actually Google Calendar. It's like their applications. Then you like authorize, and then they can send tweets, and all of a sudden, like Larry's page got like all those shit coins, and then the thing happened where they kind of scammed with other shit coins, and then his account got banned. So it's not like, it's not stupid people that fall for that. Larry is he's a smart guy. The people that scam people, they actually put in thought. It's not like everyone can fall for that. Like there's no one that cannot fall for that.
Right. Yeah. Hey, Love
Justin's on. Yeah, Justin says he got a fully verified email, passed SMTP checks from PayPal, had call a 800 number to stop a $900 payment. Yeah, I know Travis will play with them. You mentioned you get those calls or texts or whatever, and you know what's going on, and so you play with them, right?
Yeah, it's kind of fun to troll people. I do get those Telegram messages that Robin was talking about. I get those as well, and I will totally mess with them and send pictures of like old dudes, like this is me, I'm lonely, and I just run with them. But it's like research. I see it as research. I'm learning. I'm seeing what they're using on real victims, right, and the images they're using, and kind of like their modus operandi, right?
Yeah. Well, like what Love Baja just said, I'm really scared because I just, especially after a big transaction or stuff like that, like that can be a huge moment of vulnerability, and with, block confirmations and things like that, like if it's a well-timed attack and from a sophisticated attacker, like they can just look and go, oh, this wallet initiated a transaction. I've been following this wallet for a while. And then they just call them and go, hey, there's a problem with your transaction. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is all contemporaneous. It's all happening right now. Oh, I should probably, and then all of a sudden like the fear and everything else starts kicking in, and you just start making dumb decisions, So it's like, the best thing you can do with any of this stuff is just pump the brakes, right? But as Travis pointed out in his talk, like you need to call law enforcement if you actually did get scammed or something like that. So there's that weird little area of like, well, should I call the cops? Is this a real thing? Should I worry about this? What's going on here? But what was your advice, Travis? Just like hang up, right? I mean, just like call your stranger, call whoever.
Yeah, as soon as what I see a lot is someone will think they're being scammed, or they'll realize they're being scammed, but they won't realize how big of a scam it is. So for example, they might be interacting with a fake trading platform, and so they realize that is a scam, but they don't realize that the pretty lady that's referred it in the first place and helping you along is also part of the scam. So they don't realize like all the people around them. And then like the recovery firm or some other group of investors that's also helping you is also part of the scam, right? So they still have like this naive trust with some of the scammers. So what I usually recommend is just don't talk with anyone. Just go to law enforcement and cross your fingers that they know what to do, or at least are skeptical and can like sift through stuff with you. Unfortunately, a lot of times law enforcement won't really be able to help them. They'll at least be able to say, yeah, this is a scam. Like, you lost money. Sorry. A lot of times they won't do anything about it. And sometimes that's like they don't know what to do, which happens a lot. And that's a huge problem, because there's an element of pride there with a lot of them where, they've been a detective for 5 years and they don't know what to do. So they're just not going to do anything, but they're not going to like admit that. Right. If they're not going to like admit to these embarrassing realizations. Sometimes they do. Sometimes like, I have nothing I have no idea about crypto and I don't know what to do. But, and then sometimes there's elements where it's just not worth it. Like, they could probably figure out who the scammer is, and it's just not worth the money and the time to them.
Right. Yeah.
Like, they're triaging other cases. So if you lost $30,000 and they're going to have to do like 3 warrants and 6 subpoenas to figure out who did it, that's probably not worth their time, because it is, that agency's paying money for all that stuff. Right. And there's a district attorney's office and judges that are vetting this stuff, signing off on things. And there's a lot, if you start thinking about all the resources, the public resources that are spent to track down who stole your 30 grand or whatever. So it's kind of like this balancing act, like how far do they go?
Right.
And there is, and I will tell you that a lot of the officers and detectives are thinking, man, you're an idiot. You are such a fool for falling for this.
Yeah.
Like, when you write it all out and you realize what they did, what they fell for, it is hard to not think that. Be like, man, you were, and a lot of times the victims realize that too, in hindsight, right? But so that plays into it too. It's just kind of like, why would I put all this work and all this time into trying to track down? Like, you threw your money away. Like, you were so reckless, so greedy, so naive. Like, that is the thoughts going through those guys' minds. Like, I used to be one of those investigators, so I'm telling you, like, that they definitely think that, and they're not necessarily wrong. Like, you can still have empathy for them and feel bad for them. But
I've seen you do that work.
I've seen people fall for the stupidest stuff, and sometimes it is sophisticated, right? Like, sometimes you're like, oh, that was clever.
Right.
But
and it is a lot of work to track down or learn how to do that, or the warrants involved, or interacting with the companies. And it's kind of like, okay, how much is this really? It's less than 100,000. I don't know. There's other stuff going on. Like, people are like physically hurt that I'm looking at too. So it's work. Yeah. And then there's something about, and I'm not going to say, oh, it's boomers or whatever. Justin shares a good story about his own dad here. I get this same thing, Justin, where.
Oh, that's Justin? How did I not know this?
Yeah.
It's the username threw me off. Hi, Justin.
Yeah. Welcome.
Welcome. That's always good to see you, sir.
So I'll do IT support work, computer help for an older guy. And whether it's age or technology familiarity or something, like, I just have these normal, I think it's like common sense instincts about emails or spam or phishing stuff. And I glance at it. I'm like, yeah, that's a scam. He'll forward me an email repeatedly, different emails. Like, is this a scam? Is this a scam? And I'm like, yes, hang up, delete, whatever. If you have a question, if you actually have this account, contact that company yourself, or check your account, or like, you can see your own bills. Right. So anyway, I just hope that as I get older, I don't get like loopy, but I guess maybe we're destined for that. Another story I have about, older fella I know, he literally believes he's in the process of dating maybe 5 different hot Asian chicks who he's never met.
It could happen.
I mean, yeah. Hey, if you're in your 80s, 20-year-old Asian women just come out of the, out from under the rug.
Happens for me all the time, dude. Like I said, I'm popular on Twitter, man. These chicks love me. Yeah.
And so, and for a month or even like months, they will butter him up and tell all about their stories. And these are, you'd say, smart people, retired from being like an engineer, retired from being a longtime educator, professional, educated people. And they can't decipher like reality, common sense stuff like that I think is kind of normal, but believing in stuff. And then also once you've been wrecked, there's kind of that pride where I don't want to tell people. 2, I'm wrecked. You're desperate. And then here comes, like Travis said, here comes maybe the recovery service firm. Oh, hey, yeah, no, we can help you out. This older guy I know was in that situation and was trying to work it out. Like, oh yeah, no, he'd admitted to me that he'd lost a little chunk of money on a gold futures thing, which was one of these fake online apps that like shows you numbers and you can like put money on there and it looks like numbers, but it's all faked. And it matches an app that, like, I guess you'd say is legitimate, but it's like a pseudo, a cloned app. And so he was in the process of trying to get recovery, and that recovery was just a scam to get. Oh yeah, it'll cost so much money to get it back because we have to pay tariffs or something. Anyway, if you notice, tariffs have gone up. Tariffs on Bitcoin have like doubled now.
I will say, usually I still recommend reporting to law enforcement because sometimes that's what it takes to get like a victim to realize that they're involved in a scam.
Yeah.
But also, it's not unheard of to like actually, find the suspect, get justice, trace the funds, seize the funds. Like that's not unheard of. It's not as likely, but you might as well try.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Give them a shot.
Hey, Robin, I mean, you've talked to like 14 bajillion Bitcoiners, man. Have you ever met one that got wrecked? Like, has anyone told you any like crazy stories about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like Rick, we know both.
Oh God, Rick. Yeah. I mean, if you're not aware of his story, like I'll let Robin tell it, but
yeah, like Rick is, I think he was the 5th or 10th podcast. Like he was very early on, definitely in the first 20 episodes. And he kind of told the story how he lost 25 Bitcoins. And that was because it has nothing to do with a social engineering scam, and he had self-custody, but it's a long time ago, but as I remember it, I think he had a cloud backup of some sort on his dad's computer, and there was some sort of leak, but I know for sure that they haven't figured out 100% what was the reason, but they had self-custody. They were savvy in computer technology, but they just had some kind of mistake in there. So it was a really interesting one because we made that episode with Rick and with Tony, basically saying the emotional side of Rick plus the analyst side with Tony, and going through there. I think I have never got so many DMs and messages from people like, oh shit, like I really thought through my self-custody setup again because of that one podcast, because it kind of woke people up how many vulnerabilities a setup can have. And we played through all the possibilities, what could have gone wrong and what could have been the leak in the setup. And people are like, oh shit, that's also me. Oh shit, I also have that leak. Oh shit, that also me. So I've heard a lot of crazy story. I'm careful because there's so many now. Like sometimes you also wonder, like, are they all true? Are they just trying to now get donations? Like I'm just also like I'm trying to verify those stories before I really amplify them. But there are 100% so many Bitcoiners have lost Bitcoin along the way. There are a lot of them, and there are also smart Bitcoiners. There are also Bitcoiners that have self-custody, but they had made some mistakes along the way, because if you don't make mistakes, it's hard to lose your Bitcoin if you really follow the sound principles. So at some point it's the old saying of like, with great power comes great responsibility, and I think it's a good thing. There are more and more people that say like, oh yeah, I don't like the self-custody thing because like I don't trust myself, basically. Right. I don't know. I rather trust myself and rather have the responsibility than trusting someone else. And you still can get scammed. Right. Like a bank account is not as safe as self custody. I'm just leaving it at that.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Right.
Well, I remember when Rick came out with that story, like there's all kinds of people jumped all over that guy thinking, oh, whatever, scammer, you're just looking for donations. And I remember I saw him in BTC Prague. I kind of heard his story on Twitter and I was sort of like, whatever, I don't know, some dude, some doofus. But when I saw him speak in Prague that first time I went, like he was just like this really humble guy. But he came out and was like saying, hey, man, this happened to me. And this is what we were doing. One of the things he said in Prague was like they were using a low entropy password manager. Dad was, like a 4-digit code to get into your password manager. And then all the secret keys were right inside there. So to brute force that thing was like a trivial matter. I mean, you can do that like with almost nothing nowadays, right? Like I think a phone could brute force that with modern compute. So that was they somehow ended up with an installer or something, ended up on their box that brute forced that word and then sent it to the people, and then the people drained them, and that was it, right? And that's all it took. And had they just had like a complex password, like a 16 or 20 character, 24 character password, probably would have dodged that bullet, And so it's a hugely expensive lesson for him to learn, but he was also like an OG Bitcoiner. Like he's been around since like 2013 or something, right? So it's not like he didn't understand this stuff. It's not like he didn't have deep knowledge and understanding of it. But I think the biggest point he made that really always stuck with me is like, you can't get complacent because it's really, really easy to get complacent. And like when I was working in the prison service, complacency was everywhere, and people let things slide and let things get around and just try and do things for convenience. And it's all fun and games until someone gets killed or injured or something really bad, or you lose a ton of Bitcoin or something like that. But you want to try and avoid that wake up call if you can, right? So, the thing we always stress with the MicroSeed is like, you got to test your stuff. You got to make sure you still have access to it. You got to make sure that you remember how to do all this stuff. And you have to kind of continually be vigilant. Like you can't just like sit and just go, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. It's probably fine. Cause it's all fine until it's not, So there's a million ways to lose it. But it's very simple things to keep it. Right. And it's just make sure you back up your seed phrase, make sure it's hidden somewhere safe, make sure you have access to your stuff, make sure you have protected against like wrench attacks, make sure you protected against, fire and flood, and just make sure you're not storing things digitally and, using password managers to store your seed phrase or cloud accounts or taking pictures of your seed phrase or whatever. I mean, it can be relatively simple. And I think for most people that aren't facing like nation state actors, like, keeping it simple, like get yourself a cold card, set up your wallet, back up your seed phrase, and then just kind of kick back and enjoy it. Make sure you have a watch wallet so you can see what's there. And, but if you're not transacting all the time, and then keep some on a Lightning wallet, if you want to transact in Bitcoin, you want to spend Bitcoin, use Bitcoin, all that kind of stuff, send it around on Lightning and just make sure there's not enough there that you're going to get wrecked, So that's kind of my takeaway from Rick's thing. Like, I think he's a great guy, and I'm really sort of impressed with what he said at the time and what he's continued to do since, helping people kind of make sure they stay safe from what happened to him.
Yeah. And it takes courage to tell that story.
Oh yeah. Huge.
Yeah. I think, was it Paula's podcast a week ago? She had Jimmy and his wife on. That's an emotional story. Now, granted, you could say, well, that was a really dumb thing he did. But
Jimmy,
in the Bitcoin army, there was a lot of scuttle. I don't know, over the past month or so. This guy, Jimmy, I think they might have lost 5 or 7 Bitcoin.
I think it's 7 Bitcoin. Yeah.
7 Bitcoin. Yeah. And he basically, what he did, he was running a node and he was using Sparrow, and he'd done it before, and he was moving stuff around on his hardware wallet. For whatever reason, he was going to put some funds back on exchange or something around liquidity. And instead of using his regular desktop Sparrow software program, he was looking for a shortcut, and he downloaded a mirror fake Sparrow app on the App Store.
Ooh.
And again, what he trusted there was that, well, it's on the App Store, so it's a legit app, and it says Sparrow with a Sparrow icon. So it was the trust of brand. And then using this fake Sparrow app, he moved funds around. And when it asked for his private keys, he thought, well, it's Sparrow. Like it's like the 10 commandments that you posted, Robin. It's like one of the commandments. It's like you never share your private keys. You never put them online. Well, he entered his private keys, and then very quickly his 7 Bitcoin were swept. And he was like confused. Like, I used Sparrow, and he double checked on his desktop Sparrow app and his node, and sure enough, it was gone. Oh. And he realized then, like, this app wasn't legit.
That'd be
but it was
sickening.
too late.
Yeah. Oh God, that would be horrible.
That interview on Paula's show, it was I think it was just a week ago.
Yeah, you should link it, dude. In the chat.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's emotional. I mean, they're wrecked emotionally. Now they're recovering, and Paula does a great job of consoling them and talking them through and focusing on the future. They've got a lot of advice and support, and they're doing what they can, trying to see what they can do law enforcement or legal wise. But the reality is, like, most likely, it's moved and gone. But just trying to move forward from that. And I think the hardest part about it was, you're in that situation and you just want to hole up. And even if you start over again, you're embarrassed,
Oh yeah.
Well, they've been on podcasts sharing their story, and each one is tearful. Yeah. Because it's hard. So,
well, I'm surprised, when these relationships last. Like, there was that story a couple of years back, like the wife was cleaning out a drawer and found a USB stick and was like, oh, we don't need this. And just 1.5 million in Bitcoin, just in the tip, just like that. And you go, jeez. How do you come home and look at your wife and go, hey, honey, you threw away our entire life savings because you wanted to tidy the drawer that I told you to never open, stuff like that.